We're ready.
Okay.
Here we are. This is us.
Yeah.
We're gone. We're in.
We're live.
Hello,
Hey,
friends. How you doing?
We are the Wanderlearners,
And we are here in Bath, England.
and we've been traveling for 4 months now. So yeah.
So, we've been traveling the world, looking for inexpensive ways of meeting exciting people and traveling the world and making cool things.
We want to learn things from the people that we meet, and this is our time to experience the world.
I'm going to take a moment.
Yeah.
We're going to breathe.
This is our first live broadcast.
This is our first live broadcast.
I'm really excited. It's also midnight here in Bath and afternoon for our friends back in Vegas.
We're tired, and we're very used to being able to sit and edit for hours and hours and hours.
But now we know we're excited to just sit and talk with you.
So Jinx, right now we are here to tell you about
Workaway.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if I'm so nervous.
Why are we so nervous? This is dumb.
Okay. We're here today and we're going to talk to you about Workaway.
Workaway. So we've been traveling for about 4 months now, and every time we go and sit down to tell people about what we're doing or why we're doing it or how we're doing it, the thing that they get caught up on is Workaway. They're like, wait, people are paying you? And we're like, no. Oh, you find jobs every time you get to some place. And we're like, no. Like we meet these people on the internet, and then we and then we work for them. So it's this our first what do you call this, live broadcast is trying to explain is one, practice. We're learning how to talk to you live in video format, and two, it's our first opportunity to sit and tell you guys everything we've learned so far about this very important engine for our journeys and our travels.
A lot of people ask, what is Workaway? And so basically all it is it's an online site.
It's an online database.
Yes.
For people that have, or people or organizations or farms or boats that need people. So they need work of some sort, and they're willing to trade room and board for that labor. So Kim and I, we're wandering the world doing interesting jobs, finding interesting jobs, and people are paying us in food and a place to sleep for that.
An example would be we worked in Finland at an Airbnb and exchanged 5 hours of work a day for 5 days a week, and we got to stay in a room in the Airbnb, and we had an allowance for food, and we went shopping with that food and had that as as a compromise? No, as a
trade?
Compensation.
Yeah. Okay. And each Workaway will vary. There's no official all Workaways get this exact thing and they trade this exact thing. The usual is about 25 hours of work per week for room and board the whole week.
Yeah.
But some places they'll give you money for food. Some places they'll cook. We're going to a place in a couple days in Ireland where they have a cook. And so we might learn with the cook, but we might just get fancy meals from the Irish cook.
So let's give them some more headline details before we get into the details.
Excellent, I agree.
I wanted to ask you, Joel, how you learned about Workaway.
So I learned about Workaway. I actually learned about Workaway in a roundabout way. I was researching woofing when I heard about Workaway, and I heard about woofing while I was working on a tall ship, and one of the girls who came on board the boat had just finished a month or so working on a woofing garden. It's an organic farm in Hawaii. So she had spent the last month eating vegan food straight out of the earth.
So that's the first concept you had of working, the work compensation for stay.
Mm-hmm. So at that point, I was basically hooked on the idea of traveling the whole world, staying with locals in that method, and I did more and more research and found Help Exchange. Help Exchange gave way to Workaway because Workaway is so much better. We're going to touch on that later on in this video.
And then for myself, I also heard about the concept of woofing. Woofing, what's woofing? I was the one asking a couple of years ago, what's woofing? What is that? So I heard about it in college when I had a lot of friends interested more in agricultural industry and natural ways of growing food as well, a sustainable method. So they would go and spend their summers and their time off from school woofing. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That's neat, I guess, if you want to like play in dirt all day. I'm just kidding.
No, she used to be like that, I swear.
Yeah, I didn't want dirt and bugs in my hands, but I think I've learned a lot about it, and actually I want to garden a lot too. So
I think that's a really good example of what the value of this exchange is that you put yourself in situations or in scenarios or places that you wouldn't normally let yourself get into. That sounds different than I mean. You expose yourself to different worlds than you would normally do.
Yeah.
So Kim didn't want to get her hands dirty, but now she's gotten her hands a little dirty, and she's learned that it's really fun to get your hands dirty.
I think I definitely learned from example and repetition too. And so having someone, doesn't matter what the task is, what the industry is, who's really confident in what they're doing and willing to teach me, I'm willing to learn. So I'm getting into details right now, aren't I? But basically, when someone confidently shows me how to garden or do something like that, I'm like, hey, you know what? It's not so bad. But we're traveling the world, and we want to learn new things from new people, so that's why we've chosen hosts. It's a method of getting around the world and not having to pay for hotels. And if you stay in a hotel, how are you going to interact with the culture of the country that you're in?
Sort of transitions us over into the why of why we're using Workaway instead of just staying in a hotel like everybody else does. That's a comment we got at one point. Anyway, so why? One, yes, it's cheap. We want to extend our buck as far as we can. That's not like the number one reason, but it is a reason.
Two, we have the time.
Yeah. Go for it.
Did you say A and I said two?
No, I can't spell, so Kim is trying to read interpret from my notebook. Yes.
But I don't mind at all. I think it's really sweet that you wrote it out. So, so the second point is that we do have time. We've set aside a year or a year and a half. We've saved up our money, which we're trying to make extend over this period. But it's not like we're on vacation for a month or a vacation for two. We're consistently traveling. And so it's a different lifestyle than you would if you were just going to pick up your things and go on vacation. So we're not saying, okay, we only have 5 weeks. How do we go to like 20 countries? That would be stressful. So we are allotted the time where we can pick a host, stay there long enough to feel like we've picked up, skills that we've learned a lot. Are we speaking really loudly? I hear creaking.
No, it's a cat.
Oh, it's a cat. Okay. It's midnight, guys. Just letting you know.
Here. All right.
Yes. Next point.
So I think I'm going to merge these two.
Sure.
We are willing and eager to learn. We're at a phase in our life which is pretty much the same phase that everyone our age, every millennial has entered into, where most of us don't really know what we want to do.
What are we doing with our lives?
Exactly. So we're wandering the world to try and figure it out. A lot of people, they're like, I'm going to go on a vision quest, which is a cool idea. We actually talked to a woman this morning about vision questing, like legit go off into the wilderness and don't eat for a few days vision questing. We're talking about like traveling the world, meeting people who do things and people who do things well and working with them and getting our hands in the environment. You know, I never thought that I would like cooking, but I've loved cooking at this bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, so you get your hands into an occupation, into a type of work, and you really get to know what you love from it and what you hate.
It's a way to find out. Yes, I was just going to say that. Even if you don't like something, you're like, okay, whatever it is in the end that I'm going to be doing, it's like not this and not like this, but a little bit of this, a little bit of this. So when Joel and I started talking about traveling for an entire year and that we would be choosing to walk into strangers' homes just, out of nowhere, there were a lot of concerns that came up. My family, loves me very much, so they were very vocal about, hey, like, how do you plan on going into the world? It's crazy as it is, and you're just gonna show up, and you don't even know who you show up to. Who is the doorstep that you've reached on? What?
This is one of the best examples of like male female concepts and traveling that I've encountered so far, is that every time I told someone I'm quitting my job, leaving to wander around and stay in people's houses for a year or so, everyone was like, way to go, Joel, you're so cool, you're so awesome. And Kim said it
when I say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go travel for a year, and
be safe.
Be safe.
Be safe. It can be
careful.
dangerous. Watch out. Like, are you sure that's a good idea for your career
You
and
should
for?
probably stay home.
I mean, I don't know about
There's not
that.
the time to leave.
I mean, you are a woman.
Yeah.
The world is dangerous right
Pretty
now.
crazy. All right. Those are realities.
Every one of those is really.
We could talk about that, and they were said. We could talk about that in a different video. Kim can go on many rants. I want to not be naive and say, yes, you know what? You do have to be careful when you travel. Mm-hmm. Even if you're a boy.
It's true.
Especially as a girl. But we'll touch on that later. What I do want to talk about is that when you are doing Workaway, yes, you are choosing to go into a stranger's house. But I want you to know that there is a lot of preparation that comes before that. When you're on Workaway, you're in a database and you're using the search engine to find people with the qualities that you want. We're going to set aside the idea that people can represent themselves however they want online. It's true in a way, but not always. Things slip through. If you are really reading a profile from a host, you can tell from the way they write, like, are they trustworthy? Mm-hmm. I mean, that sounds so silly because you can't trust it. It's a stranger. But there have been instances where you can see through someone's writing to be like, that person's really hostile. I don't want to stay with them.
People leave reviews as well. So, I think now is a good time to transition to show you.
Yeah, let's show you what the website looks like. We have it pulled up.
It's going to get weird for a second. Ready?
Infinite.
Okay, so this is Workaway. Workaway is a really clean site. You have host lists right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on them. When you enter this section, and you don't have to be a member in order to look through the hosts.
Oh, Joel's talking about, like, once you decide that you want to use Workaway as a resource, you pay an annual fee of $29 if you're one person, and we paid $39 because we're a couple. It's just a one-time thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and show you that process right here. So I want to sign up as a single person. It's €29, so it's a little bit more in US dollars. Okay. If you want to sign up as a couple, €38. That's a great deal. Cheaper by the couple.
Cheaper by the couple. I think that I didn't even feel that expense, and we really have used it as a resource. Yeah. Guys, we spent 3 months planning our lineup of hosts. This is our 10th country, maybe I want to say 5th host that we've been at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, real briefly, we're going to switch over to YouTube and see if anybody's commenting. The question that I have for you guys is, where do you want to go?
Where do you want to go?
Where Next? Is anyone watching? There are 2 people watching. Any comments? Not at the moment. So give us a shout. Where do you want to go?
What's your next adventure? Okay.
All right. We're going to say right now that it's going to be Africa.
Sure. I haven't looked up Africa. Look up something we know results are there.
Okay, gotcha.
There's a
lot of hosts. We know that there are a lot of hosts in Europe. Yay. Okay. In Europe, we're going to go to Germany. Where do you want to go, Kim? Estonia. That's relatively small. That's a small country. There are only 32 results in Estonia.
I want to go to Croatia.
Croatia? Okay, Croatia. It's a beach city, beach town, or beach country. So there's a lot of hostels that are looking for people to mind the night watch.
So are you looking for one specific example, or are you giving...
No, just anything.
Okay.
So here, improve a small meditation center. Here, creating things out of wood in Slovakia. All right, So really cool. Already two like really broad and diverse things. There's a lot of alternative farming on here. Reconstruct our greenhouse. Some people come on here for small projects. Some people come on here for large projects. And they have lots of people. We're in conversations with a lady in Italy who we might be staying with. And she is... No, I wouldn't go there.
That's fine. I'm not doing anything.
Okay. Let's go back to us. She is rebuilding a villa in, I can't remember the name, the large country, if you guys know. So there's the boot of Italy, there's Sicily, and then there's this place over here. It's big. Here's your geography
Sardinia?
test. Sardinia, nicely done, lady. So she's in Sardinia, and she is reconstructing a villa. And she's done it in the past, and she's had like a year's worth of workawayers come and turn this like old dilapidated place into a beautiful place with the power of YouTube and international labor. But that sounds bad, but it's an incredible thing. Like, so the communities that are built up around that are astounding.
Joel and I are hoping in the future to also participate as hosts in the Workaway community.
I'm going to pitch it right now. We get back home. We buy our own little tiny, like, dilapidated old B&B. And it's got, like, lots of land off to the side. We chop down some of the trees. We add on some towers and binnacles and things. Binnacles are things that ships use to navigate, not a binnacle, pinnacles.
Okay.
We make a little outdoor amphitheater out there, and when we have a huge event center, and then we turn it all into one thing.
Don't give them all
entirely
the
by hand.
details
Anyway,
away. It's okay.
No, none of that. Anyway, so...
But with the help of with Workawayers, I think it would be a dream that would be a lot easier to achieve with help, with other ideas, with fresh insights with people from different cultures.
So we were talking on the concerns.
Let's go back to that.
Okay, so Kim just talked about stranger danger. And
but I wanted to conclude it.
Okay, go for it.
So, yes, so I was talking about the reviews. I just lightly brushed on the fact that people write in a way that you can kind of read through the lines and see, are they a hostile person or are they kind? Then there's also the fact that the people you're going to, if they're normal people, which for the most part they are, we haven't met anyone horrible.
Normal is debatable. They're interesting and human.
Yes.
I think they're above average.
They're human. They're humans. The people you're going to, they're strangers to you, but you are also a stranger to them. They're just as concerned as who they're bringing into their house. They've vetted us, and we have vetted them. And they're also thinking about their safety. And so I think that just gives another human layer into it that, I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say?
So basically, you are not the only person who's involved in this exchange. There's you, and then there's the host. And both people are meeting strangers and turning strangers into friends.
Yeah.
So some concerns that we got is, like, what if they aren't happy with the quality of your work? We have a tip later on about like how important communication is. So if you communicate really well about what they're expecting, and then you communicate what you're trying, then they can't really fault you for that. But in the worst case scenario, you leave. If you are in danger, which is unlikely, or if it's really terrible, you communicate to them. You say, like, look, this isn't working out. I need to go, and you can. There are no contracts. There are no ways. There's no legal action that people are going to be taking of, like, you suck, you didn't do it right, or anything like that.
Oh, it's important to note that that where the legalities are mentioned, that you are allowed, it depends country to country, but you are allowed a certain amount of volunteering time. Like, it's okay to do it that way. And as long as you're sightseeing, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that someone could get you in trouble for. Also, language barrier. You have to expect it. It will be there. And I hope when you're traveling that you know that. For the most part, yes, a lot of people in the world will speak English or Spanish or, a number of other languages. If you know more than one, that's great. But in the case where someone doesn't speak your language, it could be fun. You have to look at it on the bright side, and it will be to your advantage because you're going to learn a new skill.
An example is our host in Germany. They spoke enough English to get by, but their English wasn't perfect. So where their English lacked, our total newness to German came in and grew, and they compensated for each other nicely. We learned a lot of German by being in a place where they didn't speak as much English, and it was really, really lovely.
Cool.
All right, so now that concludes the section about the concerns, about what it is that Workaway is. Now we're going to give you a couple tips that we've learned along the way. And additionally, take the time now, if you guys have any tips or if you guys have any questions about Workaway, to write them down below in the comments. We'll do our best to answer those questions here, or if we don't see them until later, we'll answer them in a future video. This is like a practice to try and eventually make a full-scale video. But the live videos will be our conversations with you about the topics that we're interested in talking about.
Conversation with you.
Tips
about Workaway. Tips about this lifestyle.
All right. Kim made a list a while back, and it included this. You want to pick hosts who have experience. So in the same way, or that are doing something that you really like, but in the same way that a host is going to vet you and say, do you really have experience as a carpenter? Are you actually going to be able to do what I want to do? You need to look at the host's profile and see, do they have 0 reviews? Have they done anything in the past? Like, this might be new to them. Again, an example in Germany, our host was just as nervous as us. It was our third Workaway, but it was her.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, third.
It was her first. So our host was just as nervous as us, even more, to meet us.
I think the important thing to note is just that if your host has hosted other people, they've already stumbled upon 1 or 2 like minutia things that pop up that you have to deal with, just like communication, expectations, more like knowing. Sometimes it's people don't know to say, I like my butter to stay on this shelf. And if they don't know that they need to tell you that, then it's going to become an issue if you move their butter. And I'm just making up an example. So if they have had workawayers before, they know that they need to communicate with you differently than someone who already lives in that house.
Which is basically a partner to our next point, which is always communicate. Before you arrive, write out everything that you want to know. Be really clear in your communication. Once you arrive, write what you're going to do. Ask them for a list of the potential jobs that they might want you to do, and make sure that you understand what they feel you should be able to accomplish in the weeks that you're there, and make sure that they understand what you're skilled at. If you get there and they want you to do tile and you're like, I haven't touched tile in my life, then you should communicate that to them.
That goes, I think you mentioned lists, right? Another big point is this is just something that we learned because of the contrast of one host to another. Having a list, if your host has things, they already know what projects they would like you to work on, oh my gosh, it's a godsend. Because you can look at that list and say, okay, I'm here for 2 weeks. This is how I'm going to divide up my time. And, I have this much time. This project will take the most, so I'm going to dedicate my energy to it first. And then you can even tick it off and say, look, we've been working. We haven't just been eating your food. So we feel comfortable. You're comfortable. Everybody's happy.
Next, this is a tip that goes for any travel resource, like Airbnb, couch surfing, Workaway, Help Exchange. Anytime that you as an individual are reaching out to another individual, write a real email. Don't just copy and paste the same thing with their name inserted. Write a message that speaks directly to what they're doing and what you hope to gain from that, especially in a place like this, like Workaway, where you are effectively applying for a job. It's a lighter job, they can get rid of you right away if they don't like you. You can get rid of them right away if you don't like them. But it's still an application. It's still it's one half is application. The other half is it's like a dating profile. You're basically writing to this person and you're saying like, hey, I want to live in your house. I want to woo you. Yeah. Exactly. I want to live in your house for a month. Let's talk.
I think in the emails that we send out to their hosts, I was very adamant on writing like a long list of questions. I'm nosy and I have to know what I don't know, or I would like you to know that there are a lot of things that you didn't communicate right.
Is that where nosy comes from?
Is it nosy? I don't think it's nosy.
So I think, yeah, well, like, so canosy would be like,
Canosy.
I need to know everything. So like a know-it-all would be a canosy person.
With a K?
Uh-huh.
Nosy. Maybe nosy is just not the right word. I'm detail-oriented.
There we go. Very nice.
So different direction. But I mean, I would write out things like, how do we get to your house? Just so you know, we're planning to be there for 2 weeks. Is that okay with you? Or we didn't see what you mentioned about accommodation.
Mm-hmm. Will we be sleeping on the floor, or
no?
Or
we
will it
don't
be
sleep on the floor. But
like, will we be on your ceiling or the rooftop, or will we be in a separate room? Will we have our own mansion?
Any details that you want to know, I'm not shy about saying I don't know them. I want to know them. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say real email long. It's never kicked us in the butt. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for, you didn't say anything, but you helped me right there.
It's all good.
It never kicked us in the butt to have a long email. No one's ever written back and said, you suck, I don't want to read this email. If they do, then we don't want to be with them. Next.
Okay. So I got this from Kim and her Romanian culture, and just like good guest policy. Bring a gift. Bring some sort of like housewarming, I'm not coming into your house empty-handed. Kumana
Kur.
It's
a Romanian phrase. Don't walk anywhere with your hands up your booty.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like doo-doo-doo.
And it means when you come to a new home, you bring something. When you come to a party, you bring something. And it's a really cool thing. I was stingy beforehand in my life and didn't want to do that. And I think that I've really seen it lighten people's day and seen it as a...
thoughts.
Yeah, it's a small thing that makes things a lot easier.
For instance, at first we were having trouble since we only have one backpack. Ooh, we'll talk about packing in a different live video, broadcast. Yeah. We had to figure out what was light and small, and so we brought postcards for our hosts. Mm-hmm. But also we learned to pick up a small gift like a chocolate at the airport on our way to the next host, so we don't have to carry it with us. Next tip on Workaway.
So we wrote this. All right, this list that we're drawing from right now was written immediately after we had a somewhat bad experience, actually. And that experience was that we had miscommunicated with our hosts, our first hosts, and technically it was a HelpX host, and we were looking for the work to do, and they were thinking that we were doing something that we weren't doing, and we thought that we were doing that. They were not telling us anything to do, and we kept on asking, and in the end, they were disappointed. Yeah.
So to be more like, so you can understand the situation, we were asked to help them with we were marketing for them, and we were helping with their website development and like photography and things like that. And in the end, we had finished 2 or 3 projects, but it wasn't then there was like, they wanted all of the media, and because they didn't have all the media, they thought, well, what have you done? And we also were doing some manual labor on the farm as well. But when we asked, hey, we feel like we don't have enough work, do you have something for us to do? They were polite and just like, oh no, everything's fine. And we're like, wow, we're so lucky. You know, this doesn't take much at all. And so at the end, they were like, what did you do? What do you have to show for all the hospitality that we gave you? So there was a lot of miscommunication. And that's where we wrote down.
And so to be more specific, the point that we're trying to make is confirm your work. So like each day say, this is what we're planning to do. And then at the end of the day, say, this is what we did.
Yeah.
We like to write it, you know. I mean, it seems like we're being too legal about it, is what I felt at the beginning. But
So it's a crutch to lean back on if anyone were to be like, because I forget what I do during the day, and especially if someone's gone for a couple of days and they come back and they say, "What have you done?" You can't be like, "Oh, I did things."
hung out.
So you'd be like, "Oh, we did this, this, and this." I also wanted to just point out that we want to make friends along the way, especially with Workaway. We're living with people in their houses. They're inviting us into their life. So we don't want anything less than happy friends.
Yeah.
And so we want to learn from that experience and hope that we can amend and keep friends from those instances. But moving forward, that's something that we can share with you guys. What else from that? Daily review.
So the space that you're going to, I'm gonna do clean, keep the space.
Yeah.
Clean. The space that you're going to, make sure that you know when you get there, how they like to keep their house. You know, ask stupid questions like, do you like your toilet paper roll up or down? Like not really that, but like at the end.
I'm trying to mop. Where's the bucket?
Exactly. Like how do you like to mop? Is there a special way that you do it?
You wouldn't believe it, but people like have different ways of doing things and can be nitpicky about it. Like, oh no, I have to mop anyways.
Yeah.
In this direction or under
Yeah,
this
it could be
carpet.
directional. Like carpets need to be vacuumed in a certain direction, which is normal for some, and like didn't occur to me at first, but now I know, and it's cool, and you can make cool designs, and it's anyway.
In the carpet. I wanted to talk about this one.
Okay.
Joel and I think we have a personality of like we like to please people, but we're also happy-go-lucky, and we're thankful and grateful, and we like to speak that way and appreciate it. But I think in these situations, we have to change the way we talk a little bit. We found ourselves saying at the beginning, "Wow, oh my God, you are giving us so much. How can we thank you? Like, how could
But
we
we were saying
even?"
it genuinely.
It was genuine, but when you say it over and over and over again for a week or two, I think someone else might start to interpret it as, well, shit, we're not giving, excuse me, well, poop, we're not giving them enough work to do. Or, yeah, we really are doing a lot for you. What are you doing to show for it? So I think just not putting space in your language for any imbalance. That's, I think, really important.
So keep your thank yous, keep your pleases.
Yes.
Like do say those, absolutely. But don't verbally contract yourself to do things you can't do. Don't verbally contract yourself into a debt that you don't actually owe.
Right.
Like take care of people's things, you know? So a lot of times people pick you up in their car. If you have a heavy back that you've been carrying around for 2 days, you're like, get the back off. But like a lot of like cars are precious to people, you know? So like if you're going to throw your things around, put it down nicely. Don't scratch the car up in the process.
Or leave foot marks or anything. Just look at something how it was before you touched it or were around it, so that if you need to put it back, you can put it back the way it was.
Mm-hmm. I think just this last one, and then we can sort of wrap up.
I think so. We'll
Yeah.
see if there's some questions or anything.
Yeah,
and then we'll wrap.
absolutely. So at the moment, it's worth noting that if your host doesn't have downtime, you won't feel like you should rightly have downtime, if that makes sense. Like, and that might just be us, and it might not. But like, so say your host works at this time in the morning, this time in the afternoon, this time in the evening. You're likely to be there at each of those times, you know?
And it would feel weird if you're just sitting at the table. I mean, it depends on the person. I think it was only one instance where we felt that way. And in that instance, it felt weird to sit at the table while our host was really stressed and doing hard stuff.
Genuinely,
that they didn't
like
need
working
to do,
really hard.
on their own. That being said, before we wrap it up, I wanted to say thank you. I wanted to say thank you to all of the hosts that have allowed us into their lives. I feel like we've made a lot of good friends. We've learned a lot so far, and in no way, shape, or form is this complaining about anything. We are learning.
These notes?
Yeah, these notes,
Okay,
all
gotcha.
these. We are learning, and we are grateful that we got to learn them with you.
Yeah, I think if any of our hosts are watching, like this has been such an incredible and formative experience for us, and it's made us each and everything. The things that we've said were good or bad have been really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, also, audience members, friends, we're going to check out to see if there's any comments. We are really excited. This was our first live broadcast. And if you guys are interested to see more, make sure you subscribe. Not only for these, but also we have weekly posts. We have episodic posts, more polished videos about our adventures and the people we've met, the things we've learned.
We do have questions.
We do.
And all right, so hello, bună ziua, Annika.
Oh, it's my grandma. Hi, grandma.
But also Marge Bruce.
Cool.
So Marge Bruce, she says, you guys are living my dream.
Aw.
And that's wonderful. Marge Bruce, are you saying that you are in Scotland? Because if you are, we're very close to you. We're in Bath, England, and we're going to be heading on our way to Ireland next. Perhaps Scotland,
It
but
would be nice,
at the
yeah.
moment it's not in the books.
And then Grandma says, so I think, she says, missing you. Hello, Kimmy and Joel. Hi, Grandma. We miss you too. And then she says, so I think that you can find a way to respect and help each other. Are people ready and patient to learn a new language? You mean our hosts, maybe?
Yeah, well, both.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we can answer both.
Yeah.
So I'd say that hosts, if they don't know English already, are quite excited to learn English.
Yeah.
English is sort of the universal language. Kim, you have thoughts about that?
Oh, I could go on another rant. I think it would be nice one day if we could invent a language that pulls from all languages. And there have been a couple that have been already created that are not widely used. I think from like the 1800s. English is hard. So that's why. No, I'm saving it for a different
I was
video.
gonna say.
I can't even go into this.
All right, but basically, people are quite excited to learn or practice their English one way or another. For us, it's very exciting to learn new languages. The few times that we've worked with other workawayers, they haven't been very excited about the language. Like in Romania, the other workawayers, they were happy to learn a couple words, but not really looking to learn what they could learn.
Yeah. But I'd say our hosts overall were genuinely interested to practice their English.
So, Marge, you ask again, how do you travel from place to place? We're going to do another live broadcast about that, but mostly it's been flights. And we're going to talk about cards because we use cards and points and whatnot. We're going to talk about Google Flights, which is honestly the best way to get around, best way to determine if you have some flexibility, the best way to find the cheapest flights and whatnot. We're going to do a full episode on our processes for that relatively soon. That might be our next video. Yeah. So Marge, make sure you tune in next Wednesday or subscribe or both. Yeah, so I just saw that you asked another question, Marge. Yeah, so go ahead and subscribe. We'll be answering that question shortly. Marge, you ask again, I was wondering what work in Scotland. Oh, sweet, yes. So we have looked into Scotland. I don't think we'll take the time to move over there already.
We were going to be working at a brewery in Scotland. It's just that the timeline didn't work for us because their work stopped in September. So they didn't have very much work to give to us at this point. And we started to look out in the direction of Ireland.
It's worth mentioning because I couldn't find any commentary on contrast between Help Exchange and Workaway. So if you've watched all the way to the end, Help Exchange is an old site. Like it's really, really old. It's been around. No.
I got it.
Gotcha. It's been around for longer than Workaway. Workaway is constantly updating. So, it got weird again. Yeah.
No, now it gets weird.
Now it gets weird again.
Woo,
yeah.
Now
All
what?
right,
Oh, I have to leave.
This way.
This
So
is
Help
Help
Exchange is a lot older. The inbox right here is. It'll probably tell me that I can't. Yeah. Anyway, the inbox is not very helpful for letting you know that you have new messages, not very helpful for continuing conversations. Beyond that, help exchange is maybe a bit... no, it's not as good with the search engine and whatnot. We're using a lot of computing power to do the live broadcast.
Okay. I think we should
Also, we already
switch
were on home.
screens.
Anyway, so Workaway, right here, you can find hosts much better and much more quickly. So we found hosts that were restoring an old house in a traditional way. We found hosts... Go ahead and bring it back to us.
Yeah, I'll let this play while you're talking.
We found hosts that were working a brewery, lots of farming, lots of dealing with sheep in Scotland. So that's the sort of work that you could do at that point.
I got it, Joel.
Right on. May I?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're really, really glad that we got live comments on our live broadcast. And we're happy that we got to talk with you guys and you were here for it.
Yeah.
We're planning on doing one a week.
Yeah. 2 a week, technically. Yeah,
One-
I'm gonna go ahead and call it.
Yeah.
So in the end, our hopeful update list would be one live broadcast on Tuesdays and one live broadcast on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So tune in this coming Tuesday, which is not far from now, and we will talk to you about a message that we will determine between now and then.
So yeah, thank you
so
guys for participating.
Be sure to subscribe down below. Make sure that you click the notifications bell so that you will know next time that we're going live.
If you think we're doing good, give us a like, a thumbs up. No pressure.
Thank you again for joining us for this long video.
Midnight episode.
Yeah. Actually, it's 1 o'clock now.
1 o'clock in the morning episode.
You guys have a lovely day wherever you are, evening.
And wander and learn. See you next time.
Bye.